May 23, 2026. Cleveland, Ohio. The air outside Rocket Arena is electric. It's playoff basketball. The Eastern Conference Finals. Game 3. The New York Knicks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Cavaliers are already down 2-0. Their backs are against the wall. The crowd inside that arena is desperate, hungry, for something, anything, to shift the energy their way. And then, they show up. 2 people walk into that arena, and within seconds, every phone goes up. Every camera snaps. Every head turns. Not because of a Cavaliers starter. Not because of a Knicks legend. But because the most famous woman on the planet just sat down in the front row, courtside, right next to the most charismatic tight end in NFL history. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are in the building. And what happened over the next few hours? It was not what anyone expected. Because Travis Kelce, the man who made being a football player feel like being a rock star, brought every ounce of his hype man energy into that arena. And Taylor Swift, the Grammy-winning, billion-dollar, sell-out stadiums in minutes superstar? She matched him. Moment for moment. Beat for beat. This is the story of one night in Cleveland, a night that broke the internet, filled every sports show, and reminded the world that when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce step out together, they don't just attend events. They become the event. Let's go back to the beginning. It starts with the outfit. Because in the world of Taylor Swift, the outfit is never an accident. She walks into Rocket Arena wearing a black tank top with sparkly neckline details, subtle but unmistakably her, paired with loose-fitting jeans and heels. Heels. To a basketball game. Courtside. That alone is a power move. She throws on a dark jacket and walks in with the calm confidence of someone who has performed in front of 70,000 screaming fans and knows exactly what it feels like when all eyes are on you. Travis, meanwhile, he's dressed like a man who grew up 20 minutes away from this arena. And that's exactly the point. He's wearing denim jeans, a burgundy Cleveland Cavaliers t-shirt, and a matching Cavs hat. His sneakers have deep red laces. This is not a celebrity putting on a costume to seem relatable. This is a guy from Westlake, Ohio, a Cleveland native, coming home to cheer for his team. They sit down in the front row. Courtside. Close enough to feel the squeaking of sneakers on the hardwood. Close enough to feel the thud when a player hits the floor. Close enough to hear the players calling plays in real time. And almost immediately, the cameras find them. This is the thing about being Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce in 2026. There is no easing in. There is no quiet moment to settle down and get comfortable. The moment you sit, you are seen. And they know it. They've known it for years. But here's what's fascinating, they don't shrink from it. They lean into it. Travis leans over and says something to Taylor. She laughs. The crowd around them cheers just from that. Just from a laugh. That's the level of fame we are talking about here. Now let's talk about the game itself, because the basketball is important to understand why what happened next happened at all. The Knicks came into Game 3 with a 2-0 series lead. They had already won both games in New York, and now they were stepping into Cleveland's house, into a building full of desperate Cavaliers fans who needed a miracle. Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland's star player, was playing with everything he had. The crowd was loud. The energy was real. But the Knicks were sharp. They were moving the ball. They were defending. They looked like a team that had been here before, even though New York hadn't been to the NBA Finals since 1999. They looked composed. They looked ready. And as the game ticked on, the Cavaliers started to fall behind. By the end of the third quarter, the Cavaliers were trailing 91-82. 9 points down. Not dead yet, but the walls were closing in. The crowd could feel it. You know that feeling in a stadium when hope starts to drain out of the room? When the noise starts to get quieter, not louder, because people are bracing for the worst. That was Cleveland in the third quarter of Game 3. And this is exactly the moment when Travis Kelce, the man who has won 3 Super Bowls and knows better than almost anyone alive what it feels like to will a crowd back to life, decided it was time to do something. The scoreboard cuts to the courtside camera. The crowd sees Travis and Taylor up on the big screen. And Travis Kelce does not wave politely. He does not give a cool nod and smile like a celebrity trying not to make it about himself. No. Travis Kelce stands up. He reaches down. He picks up a beer can. He holds it up for the crowd to see. The crowd starts to react, because they know what's coming. They've seen this before. Anyone who has watched Travis Kelce at an event knows what beer plus Travis Kelce plus a camera equals. He tips the can back. And he chugs it. In full. On the big screen. In front of an entire arena. The crowd erupts. Not just polite applause, full-throated, losing their minds roaring. Because this is exactly the kind of chaos energy they needed in that moment. Someone had to break the tension. Someone had to say, forget the scoreboard, forget the lead, forget the math. We are here, we are alive, and we are going to make some noise. And then, Travis waves his Cavs hat over his head like a conductor, goading the crowd for more. More noise. More energy. Come on, Cleveland. Come on. And the crowd delivers. At this exact moment, turn the camera just a few inches to the right. Taylor Swift is still seated. She is watching her fiancé stand up and chug a beer on national television, in front of thousands of people, on the biggest scoreboard in the building. And her reaction? Her reaction is what broke the internet. She covers her mouth with both hands. Her eyes go wide. And then, and this is the part that people watched over and over and over again on social media, she tips just slightly backward in her chair, like she cannot believe what she is seeing. Like this man, this absolutely unhinged, lovable man she is about to marry, is doing this right now. Is she horrified? Is she embarrassed? Is she secretly delighted? The answer, if you watch her face closely, is all three. Simultaneously. At the same time. She starts to laugh. She claps. She is shaking her head, but she is grinning. Because here's the thing about Taylor Swift, she is a performer herself. She knows showmanship. She knows the moment. And she knows that what Travis just did was exactly right for the room. Sports reporters the next morning called it priceless. Social media called it the most relatable celebrity reaction of the year. Videos of that single moment racked up tens of millions of views within hours. Because it was real. It was completely, genuinely, 100% real. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Because that beer chug? That was not the only moment of the night. Before the beer. Before the viral explosion. Before the internet went sideways. There was the arrival. When Taylor and Travis took their seats just before tip-off, the fans inside Rocket Arena reacted in a way that almost felt like the beginning of a concert. Cheering. Pointing. Phones out immediately. And Travis fed off it. He didn't sit quietly. He was animated from the very first minute. Pumping his fist when the Cavaliers made a play. Leaning forward on his knees when the tension built. Actually talking, to the players and coaches near the bench. Travis Kelce at a sporting event is not a spectator. He is a participant who happens to not be wearing a jersey. And Taylor was absorbing it all. Watching him. Watching the game. Smiling at fans nearby. Taking in the atmosphere of a playoff arena, which, if you've never been to one, is a completely different universe from a regular season game. The noise is different. The stakes are different. Every possession feels like it carries the weight of an entire season. The crowd is not just cheering, they are believing. They are praying. Taylor understood the room. And she matched its energy in her own way. There was a moment, caught on camera and shared widely, where she rested her hand on Travis's arm and leaned in for a kiss. Right there on the broadcast. The arena saw it on the big screen and roared. Because this is what Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce do. They don't perform romance for cameras, but they also don't hide it. They just exist, genuinely, warmly, openly, and the world watches. Now, let's talk about something that happened during the broadcast that made the whole night even more hilarious. ESPN was covering the game on ABC. And when the camera panned to Taylor and Travis, the play-by-play announcer Mike Breen, a legend of NBA broadcasting, acknowledged them by saying, quote, Travis Kelce and his fiancée here at the game. His fiancée, the most famous musician on the planet. The woman who had just finished the most successful concert tour in history. The woman who has won 14 Grammy Awards. The woman whose name is recognizable in virtually every country on Earth. His fiancée. Analyst Richard Jefferson then called her Travis's girlfriend, apparently unaware of the engagement. And analyst Tim Legler, brace yourself, actually asked who was getting married. Who was getting married? As if Travis Kelce's engagement to Taylor Swift was somehow not the most covered celebrity news story of the past year. The internet lost its mind. Some people were annoyed. Some people thought it was funny. Some people thought it might have been a knowing joke from the broadcast team. But whether it was intentional or not, it became one of the funniest sports broadcasting moments of the year. A reminder that no matter how massive you are, there will always be someone who somehow missed the memo. And Taylor, for her part, watched all of this unfold from the front row with the quiet dignity of someone who has been the subject of 1,000 takes and still manages to look unbothered. There was another moment too, one that speaks to who these two people are when the cameras are not specifically pointed at them. After the game, after the Knicks had beaten the Cavaliers 121-108, sending Cleveland to the edge of elimination, Taylor and Travis were walking through the arena. Not rushing out. Not being whisked away by security before the crowd could reach them. Just walking. And Taylor spotted a young Cavaliers fan. A kid. Wearing Cavs gear, probably heartbroken that his team had just lost, surrounded by the noise and chaos of a disappointed home crowd. She stopped. Travis stopped. The kid wanted a fist bump from Kelce. And Travis, this is who he is, happily obliged. He crouched down, talked to the kid for a moment, had a real conversation, and gave him the fist bump. In the middle of a playoff arena. After a tough loss. When most celebrities would already be in a car heading to a private dinner somewhere. That moment was quieter than the beer chug. It got less views. But it might have been the most telling moment of the entire night. Because it showed that these two, the biggest pop star in the world and one of the most famous athletes of his generation, still see the people around them. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Because this night in Cleveland didn't happen in a vacuum. It's part of a bigger story. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift went public with their relationship in the summer of 2023. And from the moment they did, the intersection of sports and pop culture was never the same again. Taylor started showing up to Chiefs games. NFL ratings among younger female viewers went through the roof. Travis became not just a great tight end but a cultural icon in a new way. Their relationship became the most discussed celebrity pairing in America, possibly in the world. And then, in August 2025, they got engaged. The announcement sent social media into a frenzy that lasted for days. A wedding was reportedly being planned for July 3, 2026, in New York City, just weeks away from that night in Cleveland. So when they sat down courtside together in that arena, they weren't just attending a game. They were, in a very real sense, a couple on the verge of one of the biggest moments of their personal lives, stealing a few hours to just be in a crowd, watching basketball, cheering and cringing and laughing together. And Cleveland got to be the backdrop for that. Let's go back to the beer chug one more time. Because there's a layer to it that makes it even better. This is not the first time Travis Kelce has done this. Not even close. In 2023, after the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce chugged a beer off the Lombardi Trophy. The actual Super Bowl championship trophy. While cameras rolled. While the world watched. In 2024, when he finally went back to school and received his diploma from the University of Cincinnati, years after leaving early for the NFL, he chugged a beer at graduation. At his own graduation ceremony. At a 2025 Cavaliers game, he and his brother Jason were there together, and the two of them finished a beer can between them in a matter of seconds, like it was a competition, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Travis Kelce does not chug beers because he's trying to go viral. Travis Kelce chugs beers because that is who Travis Kelce is. He is a man who experiences joy loudly and physically and without apology. He is a man who, when the moment calls for it, says yes to the moment with his entire body. And on May 23, 2026, in a Cleveland arena full of people needing something to cheer about, the moment called for it. He answered. Here's something worth thinking about. Taylor Swift has spent most of her adult life being told, in one way or another, to be quieter, to take up less space, to be careful about how she's perceived. The entire arc of her public life, from the teenager who got interrupted at an awards show, to the woman who turned every attempt to diminish her into a Grammy album, has been about learning to exist loudly and without apology in a world that kept asking her to shrink. And she showed up to a basketball game in Cleveland with a man who chugs beers on the big screen and waves his hat at 10,000 people and she let it happen. She laughed. She shook her head. She covered her eyes. And then she clapped. Because this is the version of Taylor Swift that the world has been watching emerge over the last few years. Softer in some ways. More openly joyful. Less guarded. She's described her relationship with Travis as making her feel happy and confident and free every single day. And sitting courtside, watching her fiancé lose his mind over a Cavaliers game he had absolutely zero control over? That was free. That was joy. That was two people who have both spent enormous portions of their lives performing for the world, letting themselves just be people for a few hours. The Cavaliers lost the game 121-108. New York now led the series 3-0. One more loss and Cleveland would be eliminated. Travis Kelce, hometown hero, Cleveland native, man in the burgundy Cavs shirt, his team was on the brink. And yet, look at the photos from that night. Look at the way he's smiling in the pictures taken after the game. Look at the way Taylor is still grinning walking out of the arena with him. They were okay. Because a game is a game. And a night courtside with the person you're about to marry, in the city where you grew up, surrounded by fans who love you, even when your team is losing, that's something different. That's the kind of night you remember. The next few days after May 23rd, the internet ran with every frame of that evening. The beer chug clip circulated on every platform. Sports shows replayed Taylor's wide-eyed, hand-over-mouth reaction. Fans made edits. People used the audio from Travis hyping up the crowd and put it under scenes from Taylor's music videos. Someone on social media made a compilation of every time Taylor Swift has had to watch Travis Kelce be completely unhinged in public and somehow look completely in love with him anyway. The ESPN commentary about Travis's fiancée became its own meme. Sports commentators debated whether it was deliberate. Entertainment reporters treated it as a scandal. Taylor Swift fans made 30-second video essays about it. The courtside chair Taylor sat in during the game was reportedly put up for auction by the arena. Within 3 days, it had received over 38 bids from 20 different bidders and was going for $6,000. $6,000 for a chair. Because Taylor Swift sat in it. That is the level of cultural gravity surrounding this woman. Now fast forward just about 2 weeks. The Cavaliers were eliminated. The Knicks swept them. Cleveland didn't get its moment, despite the hometown hero sitting courtside and chugging his heart out. But Taylor Swift showed up to Game 4 of the NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The Knicks, her city's team, were now playing for a championship. And she came. With two of her best friends, Alana and Este Haim from the band Haim. And they wore matching custom blue t-shirts. Taylor's shirt said, Stevie Nicks. As in Stevie Nicks. But Knicks. The basketball team. Do you understand? This woman made a pun on her shirt for a basketball game with 2 weeks' notice. Her friends' shirts said Nickelback and Nicole Kidman. The internet absolutely melted. Because here is the thing. This is the moment when people realized that Taylor Swift had not just reluctantly tagged along to a basketball game to support her fiancé. She had caught the fever. She came back. On her own terms. Wearing her own city's colors. With her own shirt. Her own jokes. Her own friends. Her own energy. She went from covering her eyes at Travis's beer chug in Cleveland to going full Swiftie for the Knicks in New York in 2 weeks flat. She didn't just learn to love the game. She made the game hers. And isn't that the whole story, in some ways? When Taylor Swift started going to Chiefs games in 2023, there was a whole conversation about whether she belonged there. Whether it was too much. Whether her presence was overshadowing the sport. Whether fans wanted to watch football or watch Taylor Swift watch football. And here we are, 3 years later. She's courtside at playoff games. She's wearing punny custom shirts. She's flinching and laughing at beer chugs. She's stopping to let young fans get fist bumps from her fiancé after tough losses. She became a sports fan. A real one. Not a background prop in someone else's story. A person who shows up, who invests, who cares, who reacts, with her whole face, her hands, her laugh, her embarrassment. The woman who sold out every stadium she ever played in has found a new kind of stadium to love. Let's come back to that single moment one more time. The score is 91-82. The Cavaliers are down. The crowd is getting quiet. Travis Kelce reaches for that beer can. He stands up. And for just a second, just a beat, you see Taylor Swift realize what is about to happen. There is a flash in her eyes. A recognition. Oh no, he is not. He absolutely is. And she braces herself. Mouth covered. Eyes wide. He chugs. The crowd goes wild. And Taylor Swift, who has stood on stages before 100,000 people and held the silence of an entire stadium in her hand, sits back in her chair and laughs. Not because it's embarrassing. Not because she's trying to seem fun for the cameras. But because it is genuinely funny. Because the person she chose, out of everyone in the world she could have chosen, is the kind of person who chugs a beer on the scoreboard at a playoff game when his team is down 9 points. And she loves him for it. That night in Cleveland told a story that no press release or magazine cover ever could. It told the story of two people who are, at their core, exactly who they appear to be. Travis Kelce is not performing hype, he is hype. Taylor Swift is not performing happiness, she is happy. And together, they create something that feels increasingly rare in a world where celebrities often seem one step removed from their own lives. They feel present. They are in the room, in the game, in the moment. Eyes open, reactions real, love visible. When the camera finds them, you are not watching a celebrity appearance. You are watching two people having a night out together, which happens to be one of the most watched moments on the internet that week. The Cavaliers lost the series. The Knicks moved on. Cleveland's dream died in 4 games. But for one night in May, the city of Cleveland had something else to hold on to. They had the image of a hometown hero standing up in the front row, hat in hand, beer in the air, doing what he has always done, meeting the moment at full volume. And sitting next to him, hand over her mouth, eyes wide, and genuinely, completely, helplessly smiling, the woman who somehow, in the middle of the loudest life imaginable, found a front row seat where she could just be a person. Cleveland didn't get the win that night. But they got the moment. And honestly, sometimes the moment is better.